What are human rights? How do we know they exist? Why should a man living in filth and poverty deserve the same rights as a man who lives in a properly furnished house? If the man in the house worked for his money, while the impoverished man did not, does the penniless man deserve his rights? To allow our minds to grasp the concept of human rights, perhaps we must first look at the lack thereof. Between World Wars I and II, over 100 million people were killed. 70% of them were innocent civilians. In response to these atrocities, several pioneers made efforts to avoid any further depravity of this magnitude. In 1945, representatives from 50 countries met in San Francisco to draw up the United Nations Charter. Together, these governments fashioned a higher global authority. As significant as this charter was, the representatives understood that an additional document to protect human rights was necessary. President Harry Truman aptly closed the ceremony for the UN Charter by declaring, "The first thing we will do is prepare an international Bill of Rights." Therein, a new path was laid to establish a permanent commission on human rights. They unanimously elected Eleanor Roosevelt chair, with her prime objective being the development of a Declaration of Human Rights. This document was to address and represent all countries and all of humanity. Roosevelt, as the U.S. representative, considered herself first and foremost a citizen of the world.
I don't know how other people feel, but I always get a lift out of the fact that you can hear all the criticisms and still have faith that the majority of the people will be right. I think it's always a very encouraging thing, and one that we in the Human Rights Commission must have tremendous faith in, because that's really the way that human rights will come to be a reality. Only as the people really come to believe in human rights and want to live for human rights.
Roosevelt was not alone in this quest. International parliamentarians, legislators, and some of the most profound individuals in the international community worked tirelessly toward the task of defining what human rights actually were. Mahatma Gandhi was asked to study a cross-section of diverse nations, societies, and religions to determine whether or not a common thread existed between members of different communities. After doing so, Gandhi wrote to Roosevelt saying, "I thought that the deeper I searched, the more disparity I would find. Instead, the deeper I looked, the more I found that we have in common." This profound awareness came to fruition on December 10, 1948, when the United Nations, with just a few countries abstaining, unanimously adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This document was a powerful statement in defining and acknowledging universal human rights. However, Due to the conflicts arising from the Cold War, it was understood that it was merely a declaration and not an enforceable document. René Cassin, a lawyer and one of the primary architects of the UDHR, recognized that an additional transnational document was needed which would protect human rights in and through the domestic courts of all countries. In 1953, in order to create a regional model for what was needed internationally, Cassin, along with others, drafted the European Convention of Human Rights and founded the European Court of Human Rights. This court is currently housed in a building whose architecture is as innovative and timeless as the ideas created from within. Today, the European Convention is effectively a Bill of Rights for 45 diverse countries that have chosen to ratify the document. Every case the European Court has ruled upon has been obeyed by the local judicial systems involved. No country has refused a ruling, even when their highest court has been overturned, as with the House of Lords in Britain and the Supreme Court in Turkey. Given the proven success of the European Multinational Court, Cassin was awarded a Nobel Peace Prize in 1968.